Hey folks, welcome back to another Poemass video, and today let's talk a bit about these new summable units that are coming out or has already come out in, SS Ethan's case, this month, and just talk about how to run them, build their grids, this and that, right, all that good stuff. So yeah, starting off with SS Ethan over here. Right, so simply put, he's a damage dealer, right? His main thing is he has Aeroblast with a 4-gauge move, which extends to hit every single opponent with extend range. You also have Johto Spirit, which increases special attack moves of all allied sync pairs, not just himself, and reduces special attack move damage taken by all allied sync pairs by 25%. And then the more Johto units you have, the more it increases. Each one 15% more damage, 3% more damage reduction, right? Max 50%. Power up and 31% damage reduction. So if you want more of those damage reduction slash special move power ups, throw more Johto units on the team, basically, right? Very, very simple. Moving on, you also have MP regain, which is the other, big thing on him, which is every time his moves or sync moves hits an opponent, you get 1 MP back on all your MP related moves. That being X special attack and your training move. This is it, which if you do use it, has a 50% chance of reducing your sync move countdown by 1, and then raise your accuracy by 1, and then applies the crit hit next effect to the user, and also increases your special move up next by 3 ranks. Each rank is 40% damage buff, so 3 ranks is 120% damage buff, right? Although it's still a bit of a damage loss, right? Considering it is an additive multiplier, not a multiplicative multiplier, right? If you add it to like stuff like Foul Fighting 2 or Crit Strike 2 or whatever else you have other multipliers on him, but still, even in those cases, it's not that much of a loss, right, in my opinion. So it's really, really nice to use these, because if you do get that extra 50% chance of, sync move countdown, you could, you could circumvent some quad Q issues, and in champion, stadium cases where you don't pick up any, sync move countdown for the opponent, or there's none of those parameters, you could get 2 syncs in there, right, against the opponent before they get 1 in, which is very, very nice. So, also it saves you a lot of gauges, so you don't have to, use a 4-gauge Aeroblast every single turn. You could Aeroblast and then, use this, which costs no gauges, and Aeroblast again. It's very, very nice, regardless. And then you have Whirlpool, which, again, extend range, can AoE trap the opponent, which is nice for your multipliers in your grid. And then for Brain Power, it's just a easy max, sync nuke multiplier if you have your special attack maxed out, right? So yeah, in terms of your stats, you have good special attack, speed's okay. The other stats suck. You have good HP, right? So anyways, in terms of lucky skill, as usual for damage dealer, you want something like Crit Strike 2. If you're only using him for like flying weak, I guess you could do like Superpower 3. But again, nowadays I'm not a huge fan of Superpower 3, just because with Gauntlet, right, you're throwing as many units at the opponent as possible. So I mean, most of the time they're not going to be weak to flying, right? So not a huge fan of that. You can also do Weather Warrior if you run him in like certain rain teams, but again, it's just those are situational. I'd say Crit Strike 2 more than anything else, right? So moving on, let's get into this guy's grid. So at 1 out of 5, again, as usual, you don't have too much over here. If you want to save on some, sync orbs, you could just pick up a few here. There's Aeroblast move, get fresh some Aeroblast. You don't even really need that accuracy, honestly, because you get accuracy from your training move. Pick up some Aeroblast power-ups over here. Maybe pick up a speed node if you want. If you really want the extra move gauge refresh, maybe an accuracy on Whirlpool, just because like usually you start, pretty early on with Whirlpool, and Whirlpool actually does kind of sucks. If you pick up like 1 accuracy, you're generally good with that, right? So yeah, you can pick these up. Obviously, you can pick everything up, but if you want to save on some sync orbs, then whatever, that's fine, right? Moving on to his 2 out of 5 grid over here. So yeah, you got some stuff that are nice, right? You have Foul Fighting over here, which is basically a free 20% multiplier over here, because again, Whirlpool, set that out on the opponents, boom, that's actually, I take what I said back with the Whirlpool thing earlier. If you have 1 of 5, you don't really have any multipliers for trap anyway, so better off not using Whirlpool at all, so maybe just ignore a little Whirlpool stuff. Yeah, I take that back, never mind. But yeah, you have Foul Fighting over here. That's extra free 20% multiplier if you Whirlpool, AoE Whirlpool the opponents, right? So that's really, really nice. As for some other stuff, you have the Sync Move Power up here, a Sync Move Power up over here. You have Fleet Feet over here, right? Gives you, speed as well. So that's cool. You got a Special Attack plus 20 up here if you really want as well. And let's see. Yeah, that's about it. You can pick up another Aeroblast Power up for the last node, and then you're pretty much good. for 2 out of 5. Moving on to 3 out of 5. So 3 out of 5, obviously you have the full grid, and it really depends on what you're doing. If you know, with Lugia, are you going to sync with Lugia, or are you going to sync with your EX port and just have Lugia DPS, because you could get, you know, basically 2 grids over here. There's not too much, you know, variety in terms of Lugia grids. They're all pretty monolithic, right? Cause yeah, just, you know, if you're going for a sync nuke over here, if you're nuking with Ethan, just come over, pick up the sync nodes, all the sync stuff, right? Which is all nice and whatever. And yeah, where is it? You do that, and then fell fighting over here, and boom, you got something cooking, right? If you want the last 2, again, you could pick up a speed node or whatever. Is there a special attack node? No? Okay, speed node then, I guess, whatever. So yeah, you could do something like that. For you know, that case, if you are running him in a team without any, I guess, special attack buffers, I guess you could also come over here, pick up Grand Entry instead of, you know, something, right? It's slightly expensive to pick up that. I mean, you could either go for X special attack MP Refresh 2 over here for like a for a bit cheaper, but healthy benefits is slightly better than that. But you could still max it out with just your passive over here. It just takes another turn, which kind of sucks, right? So yeah, I guess it depends on what you want to do. But yeah, obviously if you do take Granite, you have to drop some stuff, which is I don't really want to drop any of these personally. I guess Sync Thinker maybe, but it's yeah, whatever. There's not too much variety in terms of his grids. If you're not syncing with him, right? Again, you lose out a lot of variety, because like a lot of his grid really depends. It's just basically pick up that interference sync over there, that sync thinker over there, right? These sync with power up nodes. If you don't sync with them, you don't have too much to, you know, play around with. You got foul fighting over here, I guess, that you could do maybe. Again, if you want, you could do the where is it? Grand Entry over here, right? So you don't waste anything over there, and then you could maybe come up, pick up. This is it, Bronze Gain 2 for an extra chance for a special move up next there, right? You could do BOGO, but again, it is a bit expensive, so you might have to maybe drop Grand Entry there, do like BOGO if you really want. I think it's overkill on gauge. I don't think you need that many gauges, but it is really, really nice for gauges, definitely. As for the rest, you could just, again, just Aeroblast stuff, maybe. Some power-ups. Oh my god, do not pick this one up. This is a 10 energy Aeroblast. It is not worth it. Do not pick that up. 10 energy for 1 Aeroblast power-up plus 1. Why is this node a thing? It's mainly there just to block, like, a cheaper path to BOGO, I'm assuming. BOGO's not even that good. I mean, it's good, but it's not that good to be gated like that. What is going on? Anyways. But yeah, just some Aeroblast power-ups here and there if you want. Whatever, some stat nodes. I don't really think anything else is really worth picking up. Maybe that special attack plus 20, but like honestly, not really. So yeah, it's just either between, do you want the Grand Entry over there, or do you want the BOGO over here? BOGO, or if you drop this, that's fine as well. It's just between these 3. Really depends on which one you need more, right? I'd say. So yeah, there's that, I guess, for Ethan's grid. So moving on to some team comps. This guy has a lot of different team comps you can run, right? This is probably going to be my favorite. Just Annie Skyla with Annie Steven and Lugia over here. Obviously 2 big, you know, flying type, you know, DPS units, and you got a big nuker in Skyla as well. Although it's, in this case, Skyla, never mind, Skyla doesn't have her buffs here, but you know, you could replace Annie Steven, right? And then you could drop someone else to, you know, help with Skyla's buffs a bit more, right? And then you could, in that case, nuke with Skyla. But yeah, Ethan does have a really solid nuke himself, right? So you can make up for, you know, Annie Steven's relatively bad nuke, and then Annie Steven makes up for Ethan's relatively bad, you know, single target damage, right? So they help each other out really, really nicely. And that's really cool. And then Skyla obviously gives you the extra speed for the team. And then, you know, Ethan being alternating between Aeroblast and Trainer Move. Gauges should be fine, right? Gauges should be fine. So this should be a really, really nice and fun team that you could definitely do. As for some other options, again, you could, you know, replace Steven with someone who could, again, just max out, what's her name again? Skyla's, you know, nuke stats and stuff, right? So it's just your, you know, usual suspects in terms of special move buffers, right? Whether it's, you know, either the Sabrinas, the SC Jasmine, SC Sonya, this, that. You guys know the deal, right? The new SS Kris coming out, which could also be really, really nice here as well, right? So again, a lot of options, and yeah. Another funny team, if you have this, right, is if you could run like Ethan with Archie and again Kris, right? So this is a very, very funny team, right? First of all, you could, pick up some of the Ethan's rain nodes if you really want. If you want to like sync with Ethan, you got like the shower power thing, even more multipliers on the sync nuke. And then you got the extra Johto spirit and Johto flag bearer buffing, Archie's special attack even further, right? And then you got obviously Kris. You got rain stuff going with Archie. That should be a really, really funny team as well. Another option you could throw in there is maybe like a New Year's Lands. Could also utilize the rain that Kris gives you, right? And, Ethan could just be there for, again, extra flying type damage, all that stuff. So that could also be nice. There's just so many options, right? There's so many options you could roll with Ethan. Like even if you want to run him with, I guess, some cheaper other flying type options, right? Like a blue Pidgeot or whatever, right? That's also alright. You could do like Karen Houndoom, where you could, since you AoE Whirlpool the opponents, you could activate Houndoom's foul fighting nodes, right? So those also fine. But yeah, anyways, that's Ethan over there. Moving on to Celebi. So Celebi is a tech unit that does a lot of things, right? Has a pretty big nuke, can flinch trap confuse the opponent every single time she hits them. Has a 0 cost 3 gauge move, right? Has grassy terrain and grassy terrain, right? And then you have full crit buffs for your team. You have attack, special attack buffs for a single target ally, gradual healings on that as well, right? All that stuff. And then random stat buffs. Like, she does like so many things. She's got Johto Pride, the physical version of Ethan's master passive, right? Massive obviously increases for her team's physical attack and physical damage reduction. So she's obviously very, 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 very good. Look at the stats, very good special attack over here. I guess usable physical attack. Speed's really nice. Defenses are okay, not anything crazy. HP's also not anything crazy either. And yeah, again, Grassy Glide's your damage dealing move. Like she's kind of like she's kind of like a SS Cyrus, right? Where yeah, she can really do DPS if you really want her to, but like most of the time you want to do like her other stuff that makes her so crazy instead, right? And whether it's set up people, your teammates with a 1.5 times field effect multiplier, right? Or just continually just flinch the opponents until they start crying, buff your teams, again, crit, all that stuff, right? So yeah, and again, she also has a nuke as well. So yeah, she does kind of remind me in terms of playstyle wise, right? Kind of like as a Cyrus. Although as a Cyrus, probably you'd benefit a bit more from running him more offensively than more techie, where I think Celebi benefits a bit more from running the more techie version of Celebi, right? But anyways, regardless, in terms of Lucky's skill, you got a few options, right? Again, if you want to nuke with her, which by the way, she does have definitely a really, really powerful nuke, right? You could go with Crit Strike 2, as you'd always go with, right? You can do the 9 games defense crush stuff if you really want, but one, she has it on the grid, and 2, she has a chance, 1 out of 7 chance. Well, I guess 2 out of 7 chance if you don't mind either, right? To get those buffs or debuffs in. But yeah, again, most of the time I'd just say just go for Crit Strike 2. That should be nice. But yeah. Anyways, moving on to her grid at 1 out of 5, she doesn't have too much going on over here, right? If you really want, you could do the Grassy Glide stuff. So she does a bit more damage on Grassy Glide. I mean, you will be spamming Grassy Glide a lot, right? It's not like, again, just Grassy Glide, it doesn't do too much damage, right? It's just solid enough damage, but not anything crazy. But you'll be at least spamming it a lot just to, get the Flint Trap confused in against the opponent, get the stat debuffs against the opponents as well, right? So it might as well make them a bit stronger, get some more speed here, attack, right? Because again, might as well just make it a bit more stronger. Yeah, that's all the really nice notes that you really need to pick up, I guess. Special attack if you're nuking with her, but again, she doesn't really get her like nuke stuff until like 3 out of 5. So, yeah, if you want to save some orbs, obviously you could pick up everything if you have enough orbs. At 2 out of 5 over here, you got some really, really nice stuff that you could actually pick up, right? First of all, being the training move MP refresh over here, right? So you could MP refresh whether it's more uses for your teammates, or even for Lyra herself, buffing her own, again, attack, special attack would be nice. And speaking of buffing her own attack, special attack, you also have the option of picking up Fierce Entry over here, and Grand Entry over here as well, although you could go that route. Maybe go there, or the other way around, depends on, you know, if you want her Nuke to do a bit more, or her Grassy Glides to do a bit more, right? So yeah, that's also an option. And I personally don't care too much about this stuff. If you really need, again, a quick cure or verdant immunity, you can pick those up, or even verdant recovery. But again, those are more situational. It really depends on what you're trying to do here and there, right? So yeah, again, really depends in terms of the extra special attack plus 20. Attack plus 20, do you want your Grass Glide to do more? Then you pick this up. You want her Nuke to do more? Then pick this up, right? So yeah, that's her 2 out of 5, I guess, right? And then obviously you got all their stuff at 3 out of 5, which is a lot of nice stuff, right? First of all, you have Adrenaline up there, which is nice. Station Target, Fusion Synergy, if you want some, you know, nice DPS multipliers. You got Power Play, that's the big Sync Nuke multiplier that you definitely probably want to pick up. Then you got the Defense Crush and Mind Games 4 over here, right? Which gives you even better chance of debuffing the opponent's defense or special defense, which is really good for your teammates. So in that case, you also have a Mighty Friend here, or Mighty Friend 9 here as well, which, you know, extra physical move up next for your teammates is also really good for, especially, you know, physical teammates like a SC Sonya, or maybe like a Mallow or something, right? SS Erica. I keep on forgetting about SS Erica. I don't know why, and she's like one of the best ones too. So anyways, yeah, again, it really depends on what you're trying to do with her grid, because there's so many options for so many different situations. For example, if we're going for like maybe like a Nuke grid for Lyra over here, right? Like a Sync Nuke grid for herself, you could go over here, pick up Adrenaline up there, right? So you got yourself a pretty solid like Nuke grid over here, right? As for the extra, I guess 8, whatever, you could maybe pick up. Let's see, you could pick up a Fusion Synergy if you really want in that case. Or whatever, right? Actually, would you want Confusion? Yeah. If you want all Nuke, though, you want to go first the special attack. I know you could pick up both, but or you could just pick up let's see. Nah. Yeah. Either these or both these are fine, right? Again, just gives you some, like, this is for more of Lyra's personal damage, right? If you're trying to do some really good numbers with Lyra, you know, personally, you could go with this. If you want to run Lyra as a more, you know, team support-ish kind of thing, right? You could come down, pick up stuff like the Mighty Friend 9, Defense Crush 4 over here, right? And Pure Fresh and Grassy Terrain if you need that. Mind Games 4 here as well, again, if you also need that. And Pure Fresh on Train to Move. This is more of a, again, a support-ish Lyra that you could go for, right? In terms of, you know, what else left. Obviously, you can't really come up and afford anything up here, sadly, so just down here, again, quick cure, situational if you really need it or not, right? It's for any of the other nodes. Again, verdant recovery, these are all, verdant immunity are all situational. Also, you can't afford it, I think, pretty much. Can you afford it if you go here? Yeah, you can afford it if you go here, I guess, but yeah. This is speed plus 20, I guess. You could pick that up. Some more stat nodes here and there, whatever. Also nice. Again, verdant recovery is okay, but yeah, there's just not too much stuff down here, right? Outside of the big nodes over here, right? So yeah, again, how to build Lyra, what to pick up, what to not pick up, really depends on what you're trying to do with her, right? Are you using her as an extra damage dealer, right? Extra nuker on your team, or are you using her purely to support your team's grass type strikers to make them even more insane, right? And also to do all your other shenanigans with the flint trap confuse stuff, right? Debuffs, etc. So, all right, moving on to some Lyra teams. This is a nice one, right? You got SC Sonya. SC Sonya also very powerful alongside with Lyra. Lyra's extra chances of, you know, debuffing the opponent's physical defenses are always going to be helpful for physical damage healers. Also, the fact that you could pick up stuff like Mighty Friend 9 to give even more, you know, physical tap up next for SC Sonya is nice. And if you're running Morty and Lyra, you got so many gauges for SC Sonya. You never would have to, you know, click a move without having max gauges, right? Whatever that max gauge is, whether it's a 4 gauge in master mode or a 6 gauge, you know, elsewhere, right? So this is definitely really nice. Again, there's just so many grass type units that you could run with Lyra. The great thing about Lyra, especially for, you know, free to play players, is there's just, again, so many grass type options, right? that you could run her with. Again, Mallow's another option, right? Run Mallow over here. You got the Mallow stuff going. Celine, if you really want as well, right? Run that again with something like SS Morty or some other stuff. SS Erica, very, very powerful as well. You got both Sun and, you know, Grassy Terrain going in that case. Brendan, right? As well. You got Brendan. You can do some damage with Dawn. You can do some stuff with Gardenia, right? All these units. Frenzy Plant's gonna hit crazy, right? As well. Yeah, all these options. Really, really nice. Even some like non grass type units like a where is he? Silver, right? Solar Beam Silver could be a good option. You could throw in Solar Beam Maxi, right? One of the top grass type DPS units that isn't even grass type, right? So yeah, Maxi, especially, bro, like throwing Maxi in here. Maxi with Lyra, they both got their Hoenn / Johto Pride with the extra physical attack up boosts, right, from their master pass. So that's gonna go crazy for you know, Lyra's like Grassy Glide if you really want. Right, or I guess Precipice Blades on Groudons, and that'll be really, really funny as well. So yeah, again, a lot of options here. You could go. Again, you don't even have to run her with grass type units. You could just run her with just whatever units, honestly. Right? It doesn't even have to be grass type units. You could just run her as a unit there to flint trap, confuse the opponents, to stop them from attacking you and you know, getting turn skips, whatever, here and there, right? Debuffing their stats. All right, again, you don't even have to run her against Grass Week. You don't even have to run her with grass type opponents. You could just run her with anything, literally anything. Even if you don't need all that other stuff, you know, if there's a striker that needs crit buffs, special attack buffs, attack buffs, right? Run her in there. Again, you could just literally throw her into any team, and that would make the team a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times, a better team. So very, very crazy, funny unit. So there's that. All right, next we got SS Kris and Suicune over here. So SS Kris and Suicune being the support of the, you know, 3 SS Johto trios. Also a very, very powerful unit over here, right? It's a support Master Fair that has Rain Dance, okay? From, you know, just hearing that alone, you know she's up to some insane stuff, right? First of all, you got solid speed over here. Again, nothing crazy, but solid. Got really, really good defense. Very, very, very good special defense. And you got solid HP here as well. Special attack is not that good, but again, you're a support. Although if you really want, you could do some honest, you know, good honest damage with Brine. But yeah, you're not really looking to do damage there, but she's a support. Come on. Right, but yeah, first you got Brine, which does double in base power if the opponent's target HP is half or below, but again, it's not that important. Got a mini Potion Exalt to heal your team. Got Rain Dance to set rain. Got Spring of Knowledge, which is your training move, which buffs your team's special attack by 2, raises crit by 1, and then gives you special move up next for your entire team when the weather is rainy. So guaranteed special move up next for your team. If you get an MP for S, that's max special attack and crit buffs, right? So that's really, really nice. And then your sync is just a regular, you know, whatever sync, right? You have Johto Flag Bearer over here, which is just the regular, I guess, master passive, which is like 10% move power up and then move damage reduction, 20%. It is across the board, so it doesn't matter between physical or special like the other ones, but, you know, the numbers are relatively lower. And again, more Johto units, the more it buffs it by, caps at 30% and 26%. So you have Sync Burst, which restores 1 MP for the user the first time its Sync move is used in each battle, which in this case, I'm assuming, you would get, you know, you could get Mini Potion all back, you get Rain Dance back, you get your training move back, right? So that's very, very nice. So, you know, that's at least 3 Rain Dances, at least 3, you know, Spring Knowledge, right, over here, which you don't even need MP Refresh in that case, unless you just want to, like, get it in early, I guess, I don't even know, whatever. Moving on. You got Team Mind Bracing Infliction, so when you use Rain Dance first time in the battle, you get +4 special defense to your whole team. First Aid 4, when you're down to, you know, under 33% HP, you get 40% HP back, which is a lot of HP considering, you know, she has a decent amount of HP. Alright, so moving on, in terms of lucky skills, again, as usual, for tanks, you kind of want stuff like a Vigilance or whatever, right? You don't have to. I mean, there's other options if you really, really want. But, yeah, anyways. that's an option. If you're worried about her physical defense, which you really shouldn't really be worried. It's solid, right? I mean, you don't really get like defensive buffs for it though until you're at, I think, what, 3 out of 5, right? Yeah, with Team Stoic 4. But I mean, if you are, I guess you could pick up the whatever entry it's called, right? Not the wise entry. Wise entry special defense. The +2 defense on entry lucky skill from the deluxe cookie, whatever it's called. Defense entry, no. Whatever. You can pick that up if you really want. I guess like again, like it just immunity to status or affliction. Again, those are all options for tanks, healthy healing, whatever, etc. here and there. But yeah, I don't really. Just again, general vigilance is fine, right? Moving on to her grid at 1 out of 5. You don't have too much. You could pick up a Brian move, gauge refresh, right? Better for your team's gauges. Obviously, it's always going to be nice. You could pick up stuff like Unflappable if you really need it, right? You could pick up some speed nodes, defense node. Don't really need the special attack, speed. So yeah, if you want to save on your again orbs, obviously you could pick up everything if you want to, if you have the orbs. But anyways, moving on at 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5 because of really good stuff. You got staggering 2 over here, right? 30% chance to flinch when you use your moves. You got team swift reaction, 50% chance of buffing your team's speed when you use a move, right? So 2 out of 5 is actually really good. What else? You could pick up some of the mini potion stuff here as well. There's Racing Rain, Refreshing Rain here, down at the bottom right corner, right? It really depends on what you want to do. You can do Natural Remedy if you need that. There are, again, specific stages that would be, annoying, right? If they're trying to like status you, then you definitely want Natural Remedy. If not, you can ignore that, obviously. You go for a training move, MP Refresh, for more shots at, special move up next, right? If you want as well. But yeah, generally I'd say, something like these two, Master Healer or Lockstep. This gives you more gauges, right, when you use your mini potion. So you could also use that as like a, gauge charging move as well, on top of obviously healing. And then as for anything else, again, you could go for the rain stuff, right? You can't reach them all if you pick up stuff like this. So like if you want to go for Refreshing Rain there as well, you'll have to drop that. The Lockstep, right? Again, you don't really, this is overkill on gauges. So maybe you would want something more like endurance here, right? Which I do find generally a bit more useful, right? So you could do something like that, not the training move MP Refresh. Or again, if you want more shots at the MP Refresh, you could pick that up. All right, in that case, as the last one, whether it's Natural Remedy, move, gauge refresh, and brine, or just 20 more special defense, just because clearly you don't have enough over here, right? You do that as well. So whatever, there's a lot of options. At 2 out of 5, her 2 out of 5 grid is really nice. All right, moving on to 3 out of 5 over here, right? So 3 out of 5 Kris, or SS Kris, right? In this case, obviously you have her full grid. There's a lot of things that you could do. You could pick up the Team Sync Think 9, which gives you an extra special move up next to your whole team. After using a sync, you have Stoic to buff your own physical defense. Again, a lot of her stuff, a lot of really good stuff is on the top right corner over here, right? So got Staggering, Team Swift Reaction, Team Sync Think 9, Brian Team Stoic 4. All the good stuff is on our top right corner. If you want some of these potion stuff, you could do that. You go for a Master Healer or an MP Refresh if you want, right? Whatever. I'm not a huge fan of mini potions, but yeah, you got some other good stuff down here. Rain Dance, Catalyzing Infliction is one of her best nodes as well. He's your move gauge acceleration to your whole team. Yeah, you could do that and still have Team Swift Reaction, or in that case, if you think you have you're good on gauges, then you could drop that and pick up MP Refresh on Rain Dance over here, right? For some longer stages maybe. Actually, longer stages, Team Swift Reaction might be a bit more reliable. Anyways, whatever. It really depends on what you want to do. But again, with a lot of rain teams, do they really survive that long for that many rain dances? The opponents are that long, right? So yeah, those are options. Limited special boost is okay, right? Just because she has a lot of these, but Team Sync Thing's a bit more reliable. If you don't have her EX, obviously there's not too much point in syncing with her. Then I guess you could do like limited whatever boost thing this thing's called instead. You do have the issue of having not enough gauges for everything over here, right? Which does kind of suck. So you have to like probably regrid this a bit, maybe drop Catalyzing Affliction, just have Swift Reaction over here instead, right? Or whatever. Or again, if you don't really need the physical defense, not facing anyone physical, you could drop Stoic there as well, keep, you know, Catalyzing Infliction, or again, if you don't care about like do some potion stuff. Again, she has so many things on her grid. Just pick stuff depending on what you're facing, what teams you're running, all that stuff, right? As usual for, you know, a lot of these supports. Moving on to some teams. First of all, the obvious one is, you know, Kris with Archie, right? You got Kris with a Master Passive, Archie with a Master Passive. They both have Rain. Archie extends Rain. Archie's one of the, you know, top water type damage dealers in the game, top utilizers of Rain, right? And then on the other side, you could throw in Mei, which is really, really nice because of the fact that, you know, Mei could actually have her stats maxed out relatively easily with Kris over there, you know, with her trainer move and stuff, which is really, really nice. You could also throw in Cyrus in there instead. There's, again, obviously a lot of really, really nice water type damages in the game, right? So you can pick and choose whichever ones you want, except for Alligator, because, you know, can't run two Krises. But yeah, you know, Sharpedo, whatever, right? This Inteleon. Dreadnought is iffy, but I guess you could make it work if instead of Archie, you know, throw in something else to help with the things you need for Dreadnought, right? I guess this guy is fine too, right? SS Misty Nuke if you really want. Right, there's a lot of options you go with here with the water types here and there, right? So, you know, you got all those. Obviously, you don't have to have Kyogre in there, but Kyogre is just really, really good for a lot of them because a lot of them are special, right? It's just like Dreadnought's physical, Sharpedo's physical, right? And then everyone else is basically special, right? You can meme with some like Hydro Pump, you know, Misty, Hydro Cannon, this guy, right? Sync Nuke on this guy, Sync Nuke on her, just some random like fun stuff you could do. Wallace as well, right? So yeah, that's her team. So again, relatively simple, easy, and you don't really have to run her in Rain, right? Same thing with like Ho-Oh, same thing with like Ingo, right? You like yeah, they do set weather, but you don't have to run them in those weather teams, right? You could just run them outside of weather, right? And like even if you completely take away like the weather aspect of their kits, they're still very, very good buffers, very, very good. You know, like again, there's extra special attack ups. You just run her with any like special unit, right? That you special attack up next. You got obviously max special attack buffs, max crit buffs. Got the speed buffs, right? Team special defense, physical defense buffs. This and that, everything, right? She got everything that you need for, you know, special units, right? Again, she is mainly a special buffer, which is why stuff like that. Again, you can do Sharpedo, you can do Nessa. It's just not, you know, just not as crazy as the other special damage dealers, right? That you could do. So, anyways, that's us, Kris. All right, moving on to Bede and Hatterene. That I hope some people still remember they exist and is coming this month. So yeah, Bede and Gmax Hatterene, obviously a max move using unit. Poke Fair, all that stuff, is a fairy tech and does a lot of fairy tech stuff. Well, maybe not so much the fairy part, but a lot of tech stuff. He's kind of like classic Elisa, right? Kind of like classic Elisa. You got the max moves to set, you know, terrain, weather, and then you also have a lot of debuffs, right? Very, very similar to classic Elisa, in my opinion. So as for the stats over here, you know, HP's all right, whatever. Your special attacks, okay. You like zero good stats, zero like stats that really stand out, right? So you don't have to, nothing too much to see there. Sadly, as for your moves, you got Dazzling Gleam, Mystical Fire, Side Beam, all three 2-gauge moves, so you don't have any like big, you know, heavy gauge, big BP moves. However, you do have a lot of, you know, multipliers in your grid and elsewhere to make them actually deal some solid damage, right? So yeah, you do have variety. You got Fairy, you got Fire, you got Psychic, you got your training move Back to You, which gives a status condition Reflection to the allied field of play, raises user's special attack and crit by 2, and lowers your defense by 1, so you do have self crit and special attack buffs. You do debuff your defenses, but you know, that's whatever, I guess. And then your tech nuke over here, the innate multiplier is when the opponent is confused, which you could do with Side Beam over here, right? Slash your where is it? Whatever, I think it's in the grid then. Where's that extra other Gobsmack? All right, moving on to your passives, you got Baffle buff 9, powers up your moves when the target's confused, powers up sync moves when the target is confused, so that's a 90% multiplier over there, which is a lot, right? Which is definitely a lot, which you need a lot, because, again, just 2 gauge moves, right? Not very powerful in terms of BPY, so that's definitely nice, right? You got Stupefaction 9, 100% chance of lowering the opponent's special attack and special defense by 1 when using a move, sync move, or max move, when, you hit them, all that stuff, right? So special attack, special defense debuffs, that's going to be really, really nice for a unit like Anime that really appreciates both of those debuffs on the opponents for her multipliers, right? And even just like special damage deals in general, just having the opponent's special defense debuffed, yeah, it's just nice to have. And then your last passive over there, Maximum, super powered 5, powers up your user's moves that are super effective, sync moves, and max moves that are super effective. So again, another extra 50% multipliers to make your otherwise relatively bad regular moves just hit a bit harder. Again, only super effective, but still, you got 3 different types there. So, pick your type and go for super effective. Also, I forgot to mention, Mystical Fire also debuffs the opponent's special attack by 1, so that's really, really nice as well. So, yeah, moving on, in terms of lucky skills, again, you can definitely do some damage here with your max moves and your sync nuke. So, as usual, for damage deals like that, a Crit Strike 2 would be nice. Super whatever effective thing is, again, always an option there as well. You can also do Weather Warrior because he sets up Weather himself, although if you do set up Weather, it means you can't use your Fairy or Psychic max moves, so I wouldn't really recommend it, right? So there's that. You could also do some stuff like Mind Games too, whatever, to further debuff the opponent's special defenses, right? So as for the grid, at 1 out of 5, again, if you're trying to save orbs, I think you go for everything if you have enough orbs. It's close. Yeah, you can't go for everything. But yeah, anyways, it's just in terms of like the big ones you really want to go for, I guess. You go for Dazzling Gleam power-ups. You go for Mystical Fire stuff, you go for Psybeam stuff, maybe that speed over here, or Clear-Headed maybe. Again, chance of opponents confusing you isn't very high, so it's just this stuff, I guess. You could ignore the other stuff if you want to save orbs. As for 2 out of 5 over here, you have Gobsmack over here, Gobsmack 4, which is very, very good, because otherwise your chance of confusing the opponent is not that great, other than if you use, I forgot to talk about the max moves, other than if you use Gmax Smite, right, which is obviously a guaranteed confusion against all, opponents over there, right? So that's at least good. You got Max Flare, which sets Sun, and then you got Max Mindstorm, which sets Psychic Terrain. So again, a lot of great stuff here, right? All of them hitting relatively hard as well. All right, going back to the grid, we got, again, depends on what you're trying to run, right? You got Super Duper Effective too for some extra multipliers, again, on your moves to make them not do, like, absolutely, like, no damage because it's 2 gauge moves. And then you got Group Therapy, which could clear status conditions if you need that, right? You could too train to move MP Refresh if you want to just, be completely self-sufficient there. What else? You got Special Attack plus 10 if you want. You have the Speeding Sun, Healing Sun, and Precognition, Weird Recovery. Just extra move gauge acceleration in either Sun or Psychic Terrain, and heals in Sun or Psychic Terrain. Again, if you are using those, right, just pick them up depending on which max move you're using, which type you're facing. Although they're also not that big of a deal, but I guess, you know what, not Speeding Sun and Precognition are at least good. Healing, Weird Recovery, it depends, because again, you're really not using them to tank, so the heals might not be that big of a deal in shorter battles, but, again, depends, right? All we're trying to do, there really isn't too much to pick up in his 2 out of 5 grid, honestly, either. Most of the stuff does, other than Gobsmack 4, that's a really big one. You can honestly just pick up Gobsmack 4 and, like, ignore everything else, right? 3 out of 5, you have, obviously, all your max move power-up, so it really depends on what you're trying to do, because there's so many, you could run Fairy Bead, you could run Fire Bead, you could run Psychic Bead, right, all that stuff, or you could just run a regular, debuff bead that doesn't help any of those as well, I guess. Or you could run your own Sync Nuke bead, whatever, right? You have Ramp Up over here if you want, because that could make it so that you, again, self-sufficiently max out your special attack and crit by yourself. Again, if you are trying to, go for a Sync Nuke, you pick up Fuzzy Strike here if you want. Let's see. Where else? Sync Move Multiplier over here. Again, Confusion Synergy 9. That's a pretty big multiplier if you want. What else? Again, depending on what type you're going for, probably if you're Sync Nuke, you're probably going to be fair type. So you could pick up the G Smite power up plus 100 as well if you want, or Gobsmack 4 if it's like multiple layers of opponents, because obviously, you know, you can only use the max move once to AoE confuse the opponents, right? But, you know, otherwise, as for some other stuff, maybe Super Duper Effective 2 if you really want instead of that, but you know, I generally just pick that up. But yeah, that's for his own Sync Nuke if you want, right? For obviously this is fairy damage. If you want to go for fire stuff, there's fire stuff over here, I guess, right? There's not too much fire stuff, honestly. Just like really max flare. You could pick up hard knocks here. This has nothing to do with fire damage. It's close, right? 100% chance of debuffing random stats by 1 when you hit them, right? With either move sync move or max move. I'm not a huge fan, but if you're mainly running him as a debuffer, you can pick that up. But yeah, if you're just running Fire Bede, there really isn't too much to pick up. Because I do think Mystical Fire is definitely his weakest, right, of all his moves. You could go for Confuse Synergy up here, right, if you want. Then Gobsmack, because that's your only way of really confusing them, right, other than that, you know. And then you have Super Duper Effective 2, I guess, so if you want to do some fire damage. As for Psychic, then Psychic, you got your Psychic stuff over here, Max Mindstorm up here. You do have Stupefire, which is really, really nice, right, if you want to, you know, regardless, you go for the Psychic stuff, ramp up on Trainer Move, maybe. Can you afford Confusion Synergy? You can, and then Gobsmack over here. You could do something like that. Would be nice, or if you don't need the ramp up, you got someone else to buff your max out your stats, you go for Super Duper Effective 2. Or if you want to run a just debuffing sort of thing going on, right? Don't even care about any of those different types of moves, whatever. You just go Hard Knocks there, Stupefire, right? Gobsmack if you want to confuse them, I guess. If not, then you could pick up some extra stuff from either Hatterene or the Mystical Fire. I guess Fire is a bit better for debuffing because, you know, Mystical Fire, if you're spamming that, it debuffs opponents' attacks a bit. You know, go for again Speeding Stun over here if you want. Not that it really matters. I mean, you can still use like Celebi, or you can still use Max Mindstorm and like spam the fire. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. It really depends on what you want to pick up. So yeah, maybe like Move Gauge Refresh on Dazzling Gleam, because, you know, if you're trying to debuff them, might as well do the AoE one, right? So yeah, a lot of options here, right? Again, Bede just really depends on what teams you're running her with, or well, people keep on saying I call Bede her. Obviously, Bede's a guy, but like it's Hatterene, because like Hatterene is like a female only Pokemon, right? So I don't know. I sometimes refer both ways. It's just depending on, it's either Bede or Hatterene, right? Moving on. Let's see. I'm not trying to do it. I swear, I'm not trying to headcanon anything or whatever. Anyways, let's see. As for the teams, again, he's really good for anime, because anime, you want the Brain Teaser, Smarty Pants, as well as the Overpowered Devastation, which Bede definitely gives both of those, right? So that's really nice. You get SS Dawn in there for some extra SS Dawn stuff, because SS Dawn's really good just for being SS Dawn. And yeah, that's an option, right, in terms of like Psychic stuff, again, Psychic Terrain stuff. If you want, you can also do either, again, Lyra, SS Lusamine for like shorter battles, because again, do keep in mind, Psychic Terrain, it's only for one max move, right? So it's going to be the same thing with like SS Lisa and like whether it's NY Vulcaner or whatever other electric type units, just going to be like one sync cycle, so you got to make it for shorter stages. You know, obviously SS Lusamine and Lyra very good at making stages much shorter, so how fast they clear them. So yeah, obviously all those psychic types are fine. You could also do Bianca as well, who, you know, has further Psychic Terrain settings. You could do Giovanni, which is nice as a free option as well. Right, so yeah, that's for some psychic stuff. In terms of Sun, there's probably better Sun setters, but, you know, in certain cases where you do want, you know, to have Bede in there instead of some other Sun setters. I mean, it's an extra Sun setter, right, which is just good for Gauntlet, right? Just have as many of these sort of units as possible, right? Again, obviously any of these fire type units would benefit from it, especially the the special ones with the guaranteed special defense buffs, right? Whether it's a Leon, whether it's a red, right? Or something like a silver would be nice too, so you could set set Sun up right before he gets the sync in, so he could actually get the nice sync nuke multipliers for himself. So yeah, NEN's another one, right? NEN actually works relatively, or not relatively, really well, because they both, you could help debuff for NEN as well, because he does, he also has mind games himself, whatever, right? And if you pick up the whatever that thing is called in the top right or top left corner for something stupefy there, right? Or no, hard knocks, right? You also have the chance to also debuff the attack, all that stuff, and then obviously you lower special attack over here, guaranteed, and then on the on your passives as well for NEN's sync nuke multiplier. So that's definitely a really nice team as well over there with again NEN and Bede. That's for fire options, and it's not just fire options. There's also your grass type options sometimes that use Sun as well, right? Like a Leafeon, Brendan, whatever here and there. Brendan's a really nice one with Bede, low-key. Groudon's another decent one. So yeah, anyways, as for, I guess, what was the other one? In terms of fairy, I guess if you want to just get some fairy damage in there, you could run her with Diantha. That's also a really nice option, so you could utilize Diantha's multipliers, right? Like, Bede's just so good for a lot of these units, for devastation over here, right? If you really want, although Bede's nuke is better, but whatever, right? If you want the AoE strike nuke, I guess you could do that. But yeah, you could help Diantha like that. You could also work something out with SS Serene, although they are kind of competing for sync, right? I guess, but yeah, you do help stuff with like overpower here as well. So that's definitely going to be nice as always. And you also have the Speeding Sun, and if you really need that, you don't really, but what else? I guess Palatine's Marnie a bit. Again, Marnie's obviously not Palatine's Marnie. This is the other Marnie seasonal. Summer Marnie, right? You do have the devastation, overpower, in terms of debuffs, right, for Summer Marnie, but you don't have the physical defense debuffs outside of getting it by chance on hard knock. So yeah, a lot of options for B teams as well. Again, it just really depends on what you're trying to run, right? So anyways, that's this one, I guess. Hope you all enjoyed. Guys, think in the comments down below. Like and enjoy the videos, support the channel for some more Poem Masters content, and I'll see you guys in the next one then.